welcome to Podcast vs. Player, episode 195. I'm one of your hosts, Cal, and as always, I'm joined by a man who heard Aladdin has been banned from the Magic Carpet Race for using performance-enhancing rugs. I don't think that was going to be the...
I didn't expect that. Rug joke.
Tony, bloody Dan. It is you, sir. Welcome.
It is me. How you doing?
I am good. I've just realised we've only got 5 episodes left until the big Dan episode. Raise that roof, sir.
Everyone's expecting this.
Except
Washington
you.
Post.
The
BBC.
Washington Post. Wow.
Sorry, I had a burp. I was
Digestive systems and... Yes, it should be a good one. You've had... This is... Will this be
100 in the making, is
Will
it?
this be the third one?
No, it'd be 4th. Because I do every 50, don't I?
I think it was every 50, yes. Yeah, so yeah, it would be 200.
So.
Yeah. So, are you excited? You got anything planned?
No. I tell you what, mate, I did actually have, as you know, listeners of the show will be.
What? Do you need another 5?
Maybe so. Yeah. I mean, you'll see. I'm a bit exhausted. You'll see why a bit later on in the episode. But usually Callum will come to me and he's got a whole list of jokes and he'll go through the jokes and he'll be like, "Oh, you know, some of these are going to be good ones to start the podcast with." Some of the ones that don't necessarily make it on, they'll be on Instagram.
Trade secrets.
So, yeah, exactly. It's not really, is it? It's just, rather than just coming with one potentially decent joke, you come with 20 and half of them are shit.
Yeah.
But some of them, you know, they're a little surprise maybe.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll do something similar. So I'll put together a big list of jokes and I'll just return the favour, go through them all.
Thanks, man.
And I had it saved on my desktop. It's the only icon on my left monitor that's this joke list. And the file corrupted. So they've all gone. So I'm sure there were some really good ones on there that made me laugh.
We'll never know.
Yeah. So in those next 5 episodes?
5 episodes
10
after,
weeks,
yeah. Technically
do some
4.
bloody joke digging,
Technically
mate.
4. Because it will be the
After
it'll be
today,
the 5th one, won't it?
That's true, yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it. It's nice to have a break. The only thing I need to remember to do is to not look at any news whatsoever through the week. Which is difficult because...
It is, yeah, because I struggle sometimes. Like some of the things that you'll be like, oh, breaking news. I'm like, yeah, I found this out yesterday. Not that breaking,
I have learnt that anything major that can't wait, I'll just send you like a screenshot of the article or a link to the article or something like that. But
yeah, I'm okay with that.
If it's Red Dead Redemption 3 is out tomorrow, I'm going to assume you already know.
Probably, yeah.
Just for anyone it's not, don't get excited.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, before we get bloody shouted at. Anyway, speaking of news, Dan, I've got some bloody news for you.
Interesting. I've also got a little bit of news for you.
As I say news. It's not really like super news. It's more what have you been watching, Dan? Because I've been watching Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I've also been watching Falcon and Winter Soldier. Absolutely, I bloody have done, mate.
It's been a good ride. I'm very disappointed. We've only got 1 episode left.
1 left. That's
Yeah.
it, and then we're done. I'm kind of devastated.
It doesn't really feel like we've built up to a finale.
Yeah, what could possibly be in this last episode?
I don't.
And it's
Go on. No, I was just going to say, for a show that's called Captain Falcon, for a show that's called Falcon and Winter Soldier, I was playing Smash Bros yesterday.
Falcon Punch. That I do want to see.
If they did that in it, that'd be banging. But
yeah, what a hell of a reference.
For a show that's called Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's featured the main character seems to have been the Shield.
Yeah, whether it should have been made in the first place, it's just this the whole thing is this all awful and racist. Kinda.
Yeah, I mean, not the Shield itself isn't racist. The people
that's a piece of metal
that have had it.
Yeah, but I mean, I know that we spoke Saturday.
Yeah. 2 days ago.
And yeah, we both watched it by that point, and there was something that they touched on when it's Sam and Isaiah talking to each other, and he's like, no self-respecting black man would ever take up the shield and be Captain America because of everything that's obviously happened to him, and historically it's I mean, they mentioned the Red Tails as well, which I thought was a cool little reference, which was a World War II fighter squadron of purely African American fighters who were just completely forgotten about, which is just it's mental to think of, but times we live in. And then when Bucky, they're like, him and Sam are like playing catch with the shield basically, and he's like, I didn't think of the bigger impact of giving the shield to a black man after Steve and Stars and Stripes and blonde hair, blue eyes, and Mr. America. It's in the name. Do you know what I mean?
Because of everything else that Steve did, you kind of really forgot about the perfect specimen thing, because he was just like he was a good. I mean, that was his thing. He was a good guy and he was a decent guy, and even when he was on the run from the government and a select few of the other Avengers, he was still doing the right thing. And
but we know that as the audience.
Yeah, as us, we know that. But like I say, Isaiah sees him as he's just a white guy who gets the privileges that he didn't get, and he wasn't tested on.
Even though
all this
exactly the same, but he's spent 30 years in prison just being tested on forever.
Do we know? Go back a handful of episodes to when we first meet Isaiah, and he says that he ripped Bucky's arm off. Do we know that if that's the reason why he's got the vibranium arm?
Sorry, he said that he ripped Bucky's arm off.
Yeah, when Bucky takes Sam to the house for the first time.
Yeah.
He says it then, and then he's like, I see it grew back. But he says that he the last time he saw him or something like that, they're on a runway and he ripped his arm off.
Really? I didn't notice that, if that's the case. So that's how he lost his arm.
I don't know if that's like, did he meet him as the Winter Soldier?
It was like,
because he may have thought him as the Winter Soldier and he ripped his vibranium arm off.
Maybe, but I thought it was like when he fell from like the train thing in
that's
the first
That's what I always thought it was, but I didn't know if it was like.
I might need to rewatch that then.
Yeah.
That
episode, it definitely says it, but it doesn't say real arm or vibranium arm. It just says ripped your arm off. I see it grew back. I forgot where I was going with that. I don't know.
It's a good show. It's really good.
Yeah, it's great. Is there any? Well, what's the best way to say it? So when the fight in spoiler, but when the fight in New Captain America, why does Bucky have such a difficult time fighting him? As a super soldier with a vibranium arm, he should have given him a right good. Plus, he's been doing this for a lot longer than Thingy
True,
has.
but he's also without the serum, like, he was a super soldier. Like,
no, he was a good soldier, but he hasn't fought the same kind of people Bucky's fought, or even Falcon.
True,
for that matter.
I imagine the people that Bucky's been killing as the Winter Soldier is just sort of like just people like Howard Stark.
But he's also he's fought Thanos, and he's fought Thanos' goons,
yeah,
and he's
after
fought
the fact,
the rest of the Avengers.
But just because you take the super soldier serum doesn't mean that you're, it'll just enhance what you are, won't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. And like, Steve is the perfect Captain America, and Bucky still battered him.
Did he though?
Yeah, well, not battered's the wrong word. Then again, I've answered my own question. So I imagine Steve was pulling a lot of punches because he didn't want to hurt him.
Yeah, but he didn't know who he was until the mask came.
Yeah, but that was after the first fight. I think it was second fight. Can't remember. Great film. I love Winter Soldier. It's definitely my favourite film as well. But
like, they have the chase thing and then they fight in the street.
Yeah, and it's there, isn't it?
Yeah, so he loses his. Yeah,
I'm sure that's where his mask comes
sort of,
off.
like, pretty evenly matched.
But then in answering my own question, I assume because of what Bucky says earlier in the episode about he's afraid the Winter Soldier's still inside of him, he's pulling his own punches, so he didn't just end up just fucking snapping Walker's neck or something like that.
Which probably would have been quite easy for him to do. I imagine.
That's what I mean.
Just revert back to it. Yeah.
I mean, look at him in one of the previous episodes when he's in the bar, and see where he's got to pretend
maybe
to be.
Like, yeah, but like Bucky and Steve, they both would have trained like 60 years ago, 70 years ago.
That's what I mean.
So,
They've got the experience.
No, but I mean, they were using fighting techniques and stuff like that 70 years old, whereas Walker, he's been trained like modern combat and hand to hand and that sort of stuff. So, you know, Sam would probably be better suited to take him on if he was the same level of strength.
Yeah.
Because obviously Sam's doing like cool flips and stuff now to, you know, do all the shield work.
I really like when he flipped the wings and took his legs from under him. That was really cool.
What, when he just sort of...
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. We don't see much of the rocket suit because I imagine it's quite hard to animate and quite expensive as well to have someone flying around.
Considering what he was doing in like the Avengers movies and stuff, obviously the budget's not as big as the films.
It's very good though.
Yeah, it's so good. This should be 13 episodes.
Yeah, I'm kind of devastated that this is only going to be on for another one. But then we got 1 week, and then we get Loki.
Is it just a week?
I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, I think it's 2 actually.
I thought it was. Isn't it on in June?
No, that's July. You're thinking of. That's Black Widow.
That could be what I'm thinking of. That's even better.
Maybe so.
Because I'm really looking forward to Loki.
I'm pretty sure it's only a couple of weeks. But I watched Avengers, the first Avengers.
The first one?
A couple of days ago, just to... I don't know if I just got a hankering for it.
I really like it. I still think it holds up. Not as impactful as the first time you see it after watching the following ones, but I still think it's a decent film. I said the other week we watched...
much so, yeah. It feels very Whedon-esque.
Where did we get up to? I think we got up to Homecoming, where we've gone from... Like we started... well, we didn't watch The Incredible Hulk, but we started like with Iron Man and worked all the way up. Even Thor... Ugh. But, like Avengers still held up to me.
Yeah, I think it does. Like with them all sort of coming together that first time, and that like Cap and Thor and Iron Man sort of having a little scrap in the forest. It does all look really quite good. So yeah, I was quite surprised that like how much it was. But then I was watching Age of Ultron, and I got about halfway through that, and it was like. I think it was like pushing 6 a.m. by that point. So I was like, I should probably go to bed by now. So I've been meaning to go back to that, but I think it's good to just sort of just like rewatch these big, ensemble pieces. But speaking of Marvel, though, the legend of Shang-Chi trailer dropped today. Today, not only a few hours before we started recording this, Callum. Have you watched it?
I haven't watched it yet. It's currently locked in. Ready to go, but I haven't watched it yet. I saw the picture that they put up on Instagram for the poster and stuff.
Well, that's bullshit, mate, because I wanted to talk about that.
We can still talk about it. I'm not that excited, so you can...
Really? This looks fucking banging.
I haven't watched the trailer, so I can't comment then, but...
Well...
Because I still...
I'll tell you what,
I still feel that this phase is going to be the weakest of the phases up to so far.
I disagree. I think that this is like now that we've got past the whole Thanos debacle, like now that they can go into the more sort of like weird stuff, like the martial arts, like the choreography in this just looks like it's going to be like nothing we've seen before in Marvel films. I mean,
right? I was going to say, wow, that is good.
Yeah, no, it looks like it's like a proper Hong Kong kind of like fast-paced Jackie Chan. Everyone's just kicking the shit out of each other. But like. There's no mention of like any Avengers avenging Thanos and Infinity Stones and nothing. It looks like it's just purely focused on him.
Yeah.
Maybe then introducing him into the wider world a bit later on in the film. But Yeah, it's September. I think it's like the 10th of September or something like
It
that.
sounds
13th of
familiar. I'm sure that's what the poster said, September.
Yeah, it's definitely September. I just can't remember the exact date. But that looks fucking banging.
Yeah, so I'll watch that after this. I fully intended to watch it like a few hours ago, and I put it ready on my phone, and then I didn't follow through.
Pathetic.
I'm sorry.
But then there was another trailer that dropped today, Callum. Have you seen that one? Love, Death, and Robots.
What?
Volume 2. Yep.
When? Has it got a date?
I didn't see. I was too excited.
Oh, man.
I was just looking at...
How weird is that?
It's just like... It's
we
like a
mentioned
clip
that.
reel, basically.
Like, I don't know if it was on a podcast or we were just talking, but we on about like, man, I really wish they'd do another Love, Death and Robots.
I figured that they would eventually, but the problem with it is because it's such high quality caliber, like CG work and like digital animation stuff. That shit must take forever to sort out.
I mean, you had the one.
You can't knock another series of that together in a year, can you?
We did talk about it very in depth, and I'm quite annoyed. I can't remember the name of the episode, the show within Love, Death and Robots. But you know the one when the ship crashes, and it turns out that it's was it a planet or just an alien that was kind of like in their heads, making them live these lives, but there wasn't there. But there's like thousands of ships all stuck there.
Oh, yeah, I know the one you mean. Where like it's the captain, like he sees like an X of his or something like that, and it's like some sort of weird. It's like an episode of Star Trek, that isn't it?
It's
like everything just
weird.
seems.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's
it
amazing.
Just seems normal but odd, and then actually it turns out it's all bloody alien mind control. Yeah, like that. Most of the episodes that they made for Love, Death and Robots season 1 were fucking amazing.
Yeah. I think there was only.
But from the looks of it, though, I can't see anything that looks like it's a follow-on.
No, I imagine they'll
all seem
all
to be just brand new.
Yeah, I think they'll all be their own thing. I think the only one I didn't really love was I think it was the vampire one, and it was still good.
Oh, that one's ace.
No, it's still good.
Like it's like a hand-drawn thing with the
when they're like
three mercenaries
in that cave thing. Yeah. It was still very good.
It's like Dracula,
but it was like I feel compared to a lot of the other ones that there was. I mean, like the was it the Russian? Was they Russian? And you had like the weird zombie werewolfy things. That was fucking phenomenal, and that would make a super good game.
Yeah, I think a lot of those, to be fair, would like the farmer mech suits.
Oh yeah,
Titanfall, like that Titanfall 3 kind of thing. Funnily enough, there was a new trailer as well today for Apex Legends. I think it's the next season of Apex Legends, and it's focusing on a woman whose dad was a pilot, like a Titan pilot.
A Titan pilot.
So like the
just sounds funny.
Whatever you want to call them. Yeah. But there's like the next season of Apex Legends is going to have more crossovers from Titanfall, I believe.
I believe it was you that told me that it's... Is it the end of Titanfall 2? Where it shows you the... I forgot what pops up. Because I didn't know... Like, when I first played... I mean, when I played it, Apex Legends wasn't a thing. So, I wouldn't have noticed it anyway.
Oh, it's like the cards. It's like the Apex Legends card, like the weird skull symbol thing.
Did you get into that?
Someone just like
Apex?
Sorry?
Did you get into Apex?
I played quite a bit of it with Rick, you know. Between that and Warzone, I preferred Apex, I'd say.
Really?
It was a bit more... Yeah, it was a bit more sort of fantastical. But
I didn't think much of it.
It gave me more of an appreciation for it. Like, the only thing that would have made it better is robots, giant robots. So, like, they're saying that, like, Season 3 of, like, Apex is, like, get a high enough score, you can call in a Titan. I'll be all over that. I mean, it's a free game, man. Like, it's
not bad by any means. And I think maybe some of the issues I've got with it is the fact that I played it on my own on PS4 when it came out. I just like, I'll give this one a go. I've tried the rest, so maybe if we'd have played it on PC or something like that,
I'm fairly
liked it
sure
more.
it's on EA Desktop.
I mean, it's on any. It's wherever you've got the internet. It's a free game. But
I just mean it won't be difficult to install. Is what
No,
I mean. You don't have to
yeah.
install a thing to get it.
I've put a new hard drive in today as well, so I've got plenty of space.
Oh, awesome! Well, that's fine. Coming to a channel near you. Apex
Yeah,
Legends.
we'll do a little bit of Apex. I'm sure everybody else that's playing it is nowhere near as good as we are. We'll have a great time with it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm not half bad at Titanfall 2 online, so I'd much rather we play some of that because I can at least.
Go on, I was just going to say, speaking of, listen, EA, Microsoft, whoever it is, sort your shit out because I still can't install Titanfall 2. Still, I've got where I've uninstalled it, it's left like a residue file behind. Can't fucking delete it. Can't install it because
you've got to change the permissions to either the same thing. I'll tell you how I fixed it. Format the drive. Wipe the whole thing clear. Start again.
I mean, I really don't want to do that.
Well, it's either that or you have to, because like with the Windows thing, because it sets up like a hidden folder, doesn't it, that installs everything to on the drive?
Yeah, but when I had this issue last time, I just used take control of, which is like a command prompt box, and it just allows you to take.
That's what I tried.
Yeah, and that worked last time. This time, it's just not having it at all. I mean, what I could do, because I think this is on an external drive, I could just unplug it, install it to a different drive, and then just plug it in again.
Maybe, but anything that you've got installed on the other one, I doubt it would recognise it. Because like it doesn't give me the option. Like, because I've got like 6 hard drives, including the internal. Like when I go on Game Pass and I'm trying to install a game, it's the one which is like the C drive, which is the main internal drive. That's fine. Everything else is like no, you can't install it here. Like, it gives me the option to change stuff up. Because I think it's got the option to it, but I can't actually do it though.
I can't remember what it was.
It's like a warning symbol.
Whatever it was I installed recently, I hadn't quite got enough space. And I was like, I can't be asked to look what I can delete. I'll just use another one. And I went, yeah, okay. Maybe that's the issue. It's just got bits and pieces everywhere. And it doesn't know what it wants to do with it.
Maybe.
We'll see. Anyway.
I don't know. Either way, though, we need to play some Titanfall because
yeah, good game. I enjoyed it the first time round. Speaking of games, though, Dan, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. We've got some trailers and some comparison
side
stuff.
by sides. Yeah,
looks all right. I've seen.
It's not groundbreaking, I suppose, but it's.
It's not.
15-year-old game.
It's not like a full-on remaster from the ground up, is it? It's just a. Now it's 60 frames a second. There's some particle effects and stuff. I'll tell you who's going to be
buying that, Callum.
I'm really looking forward.
Guy.
I've seen a lot of people completely losing the shit about it looks worse than it did first time round. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It looks.
That's ridiculous.
I think it was Game Informer pointed out. They talked to somebody from who's like one of the people behind doing the new game, and they were saying, whilst you're going to see a lot of little bits and bobs throughout, like 2 to Andromeda. I say 2 to Andromeda. That's 2, 3 Andromeda.
It's not a whole range. Yeah.
It's Mass Effect 1 that's going to benefit the most from the overhaul, and all it does is bring Mass Effect 1 in line with the quality of the following games, which I'm fine with.
Have you played Mass Effect 2 recently?
I played Mass Effect 2 whenever it was free on Origin. That's the last time I played it.
I think I snapped it up at that point. But it's...
We both had it before that, by the way. It was just... I think we both...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I bought it when it fucking came out.
I think I had Mass Effect 1 on 360, but I had Mass Effect 2 on PlayStation 3.
See, this is the thing. I kept my whole game going, but I'm 100% going to snap up the Legendary Edition.
It's going to be super
because it's
good.
like it's all 3 games, but it was like 52 pieces of DLC or something like that. It's an insane amount of content. I mean, again, content that I haven't bought all the DLC. I think I only got like the collector's DLC or something for Mass Effect 2.
Maybe.
But again, I think that was what came free with
Origin.
The Origin one, because it was like extra smuggle mission. I can't remember, but like it's too good of a game to not get the pinnacle of it. And honestly, Mass Effect 1 I haven't played for 10 years.
It's the only one, with the exception of Andromeda, that I haven't like replayed multiple times. But
that's only because I can't.
I mean, I don't know, because I am very of the opinion of, like, I mean, you know how much I love Carter and Carter 2. I find it hard to play those games now. Like, in my head, when I played, especially Carter 2, because it's my favourite of the two games, but in my head, that looks like Fallen Order when I played it originally.
I mean, it doesn't. And I don't.
No. But it was just a case of like, this is like just a really deep, immersive, almost open world-ish Star Wars game that I'd never played anything like that up to that point. Like, I think the closest really we'd had was like Shenmue or one of the Zeldas on the 64 kind of thing.
Final Fantasies, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but even they weren't like as expansive and rich in. I know that obviously the stories and stuff are pretty big in Final Fantasy, but I never got pulled in to the point that I did with Carter. And I think most of that's down to it's Star Wars, so it's got a pretty big edge up there. But I just remember it being like this like super fucking awesome big like RPG game that really pulled me into RPGs. And then I think the closest thing I played after that was like Jade Empire or something like that. Which is a really good game. See, again from BioWare, but nowhere near as good as Carter.
I disagree completely. I think that like with something like that, I don't think graphically that's something that bothers me enough to pull me out of the immersion of it. Like I played Carter 2. I played through it a bunch, obviously, when I had it for the 360, but when I got it on Steam...
No, original Xbox. What's original Xbox?
What do you mean?
Carter 1 and 2 was on the original Xbox.
Is that what I said?
No, you said 360.
I'll tell you.
It's not important. It's just like...
No, and you've made me lose my train of fucking thought now.
I'm sorry. I just wanted people to make sure that you were there from the beginning.
Well, yeah, I was. I definitely was. But so I played them both. Probably not this year. Probably last year.
Have a look, Dan.
I can check exactly when it was I last played them, because there was I think it was like an update on. Funnily enough, I still see them popping up every now and then, like Steam updates for Knights of the Old Republic 2. Tell that little shithead to sit down.
Little prickhead. I last played it in 2015, Dan.
I definitely played it.
That's the last time I played it.
Where you at? Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, August 31st, 2019. That's 30 hours. Carter 2, the 26th of August, 2019. That's 70 hours.
Do you know what's worse than that, Dan?
That's probably a second playthrough on that.
I played Carter 2 in 2015 for a handful of hours. And I noticed yesterday, when I went on the PlayStation, I played Disney Infinity for 146 hours.
Criminal.
Not just me, that's with Logan and stuff as well, but I played a shit ton of fucking Disney Infinity on my own. Never mind with anybody else. We played a load together. Do you know what I've lost?
The Will to Live?
But the you know the Civil War expansion I had for Disney Infinity, we did a video on it. It was kind of like the Smash Bros thing.
Fucking internet cut out again. I didn't hear a single word you just said.
I said, do you know what I've lost for Disney Infinity? The Civil War expansion I bought. There was like a Smash Bros like brawl. We did a video on it many years ago.
Sure.
I don't know where it's gone, the little piece, so I can't play it. I wanted to play with Logan early and I couldn't.
Well, thanks for that.
That's all right. 146 hours.
146 hours. That's too long for a Disney game.
It's good. I love Disney Infinity. I think it's a massive shame Disney...
It's too bad Disney didn't agree.
Their biggest problem they had, and I've said this too many times, is they should have made it like... What's the Spyro one? Skylanders. Where if you've got figures from the first set and you've bought whatever the newest set is, you can use those figures on that set. Not vice versa, but any previous figures you can use on the new ones. Disney Infinity fucked up where they could go, you want to do the Star Wars one, you can only use Star Wars characters. You can't be Baymax or Aladdin or anything like that. And I think that would have made it a lot more appealing to people. If you could be Jack Skeleton with Captain America's shield and Buzz Lightyear's rocket pack, that'd be awesome.
I think you need to grow the fuck up.
No, never. Mass Effect,
Callum,
anyway.
I'll stop you there, Callum. Speaking of grown-ups, we actually have a grown-up with us today. We have a very special guest, Mr. Todd Mitchell from GameDev Breakdown. We did a little, it's about half an hour or so interview with him, sort of discussing his brand new book, as well as his sort of general thoughts on the game development world and his extensive experience in dealing with that. So we're going to cut straight over to that interview, and then we will be right back after it. Hello, Todd. Welcome to Podcast versus Player. Thank you very much for being here today. We're absolutely honoured and just generally happy to have you on. It's lovely to have a fellow podcaster on, certainly one from across the pond. So hello to you.
Hi, thank you so much for doing this. I was very excited. You were among the very first people I talked to about sitting in, so thanks for having me on.
Aww, you can come back again.
Yeah, I mean, off that's fine. Anytime you need anything from us, I don't care if it's in Missouri or Manchester. I don't care. We'll be there. You got it.
Nice.
But there is obviously a very good reason that we wanted to have you on today, and something that we're very excited for you to talk about with us a little bit as well. And that's your book. You've got a book coming out, Inside Video Game Creation. So, first things first. It's a kind of a list of interviews, really, isn't it, with people from varying degrees of success, if you want to put it that way, or popularity maybe within the video game industry and development world. How did that come to be?
Yeah, that's first of all, that's a decent way to kind of look at it. Basically, what the situation is I run a podcast of my own called GameDev Breakdown, and I speak with it. The gist of the show is it's game dev talk. So, we set aside an hour, I have people on as often as I can, and we just talk about what they do, whether that is that they're an indie developer or they work for a giant AAA studio. I've spoken with other authors in the industry, journalists, anybody who sort of does what they do in this space. I love to hear their stories, how they got into it. And the book is a collection of, I picked, 11 or 12 people to talk to and get their stories sort of captured in more of a condensed sort of experience in each chapter. And it's a Q&A style interview in each chapter. My question, their answers, and it sort of captures a picture of the video game landscape of right now. So, and also there's some good historical stuff as well. We talked to one person who was way back from the Lucasfilm Games days, and
I did see that, yeah.
All the way up through Borderlands 3. So, yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, well, there's actually one of the interviews that I did see that you'd done on your own YouTube channel, which is GameDev Breakdown on YouTube, if anyone wants to go and have a look at that, obviously. It was with a guy called Max Pears.
Yes.
I did a bit of research on him just to sort of see, because obviously I suppose the biggest thing that he's working on at the moment is Cyberpunk, which is
right,
huge from all elements of the industry. But his own personal portfolio, it showed him starting with a game called Truck License 2, which I've never heard of, and I can't imagine there's a huge amount of people that have.
Right.
Working into another small indie company, then going straight into The Division, and then from The Division into Cyberpunk, and it just seemed like a huge jump in terms of what he's actually contributed and what teams he was going to be working with. Is that something that, through your kind of interviews and discussing this with people within the industry, is that fairly typical?
It's a good question, because I come from an area in the US where we do not have a strong industry presence whatsoever. So I knew I wanted to make games when I was 12 years old, as soon as I realized someone made them. So, but I got through college and I didn't really want to pick up and move. So entry stories into the industry have always fascinated me. That might be sort of a foundation for what I ended up doing here. And because I never really got to do it, I had to go it alone and do my own indie games and stuff, which was fine. I wouldn't trade it now. But yeah, stories like that fascinate me, and they all sound so different. Max Pears is an interesting guy because he's a great designer. He is an author of a design book of his own. He runs the level design
combat
lobby.
Mechanics, I think it was, wasn't it? How to combat mechanics, something like that. Yeah,
designing combat. He's starting a series of books. Yeah, and also does the level design lobby podcast. So people can check him out there. But it was an interesting discussion because I didn't want to sound like, how did you get to do this? He's a very talented, very smart guy.
Right?
I
get it. Like it's such a leap. Like, I mean, it must be a testament to his talent. Clearly, I can't imagine that everyone gets such a break.
The progression was meteoric for him, and I'm glad to say he seems to have risen to the challenge. I mean, a lot of us would have sunk like a rock in that situation, I think. So he did great.
Yeah, I mean, given the kind of the public pressure that's on CD Projekt Red at the moment, it can't be an overly comfortable place to work, I suppose, until things settle down a little bit. That's
why it was a difficult conversation, if I'm being totally honest, because he's a very nice guy. I consider him a friend. But the interview we had was at a time when, and we haven't talked about this since, but I mean, it was at a time when he knew what was going on and other people did not. And he was, I'm surprised he came on the show at that time. It was sort of a testament to what a nice guy he is, but we were not able to talk about too much at that time. But we got to talk about the books, so.
Yeah, which is, which in itself it's kind of, I mean, that's my impression of, your website, the book that you've written, the the kind of the YouTube content that you put out at the moment. It seems to be very much focused on the back end of the development side of things rather than the front end, which is what people are going to see, they're going to play. And that's usually the only kind of exposure that people will have when it comes to video games. It's they'll go and buy a game, they'll play it, and they'll go, well, this is terrible. Everyone should be fired who made this. They can't see beyond, the actual work that goes into it. So I mean, is that kind of like a niche that you've carved out for yourself, where you're looking more at the back end of things and trying to get people's stories, like you say, to kind of put them forward to the public to say, these are the guys that actually do the hard work. They're the ones in the trenches, and they're the ones that are going to be actually doing all the, the actual heavy lifting to get these into stores and onto people's computers.
I think so. I think if there's anything unusual about my perspective at all, it's that I'm a software developer. I've gone through technical training. I've done my own indie games. And so to me, I am able to appreciate in games other people look at and say, this wasn't for me. I can still go, God, but look what they accomplished. You can sort of imagine what goes into the smaller elements. And I'm happy to say we're getting to a point where other people are getting much better at that. The average player understands enough to go, okay, yes, they're working hard on this. It takes a team. More of that information is out there, but that's because of, journalists and authors and content creators who have pulled back that curtain so we could kind of see it.
Yeah, and I think that's always been the interesting part for me, because I think it's so easy for people to just go on a big old rant about, how disgusting it is that they pre-ordered something and then, 6 months later there's still nothing. I mean, I think me and Callum are both very much in the camp of, if it takes as long as it takes to get it right, that's how long it should take.
Yeah, and, definitely.
I think that... Sorry,
mate. No, go on. I was just going to say, I don't think that enough people... everything that happened with CD Projekt Red, I wouldn't say any of that was down to the developers themselves, rather than the higher-ups that this game's got to go out on time. And again, like Dan was about to say before I rudely interrupted, I'd rather wait and just have a better game and a stable game. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really have many bugs and glitches when I was playing it, so I think I had maybe 3, and none of them were game breaking. They were more funny than anything else.
Yeah.
Although I remember receiving a video from Dan. I think you were in a shop, and this car's just doing donuts through the wall on its own.
Yeah, I'd called for the car, and it was just going around in circles, just hitting people. As it's a bit weird, but the thing is, though, I think that things like that, when you see them, it's it's annoying, but it's kind of also a testament to the scale of the work that goes into some of these huge blockbuster games. And I mean, in your kind of experience in dealing with people who may have had these kind of meteoric rises, like Max might have done, is it where does the sort of the enjoyment begin and end? Is it when you're working in these smaller companies and you've got a lot more control maybe, and you've got a lot more input, but maybe it's not very secure, no one's really going to see it or hear of it ever, but then you get into a huge developer, your actual control and your input is going to be severely reduced, but you've got job security, you've got but I don't know. I don't know if you'd feel that it would be, your name would be kind of tarnished as having a specific thing against, like, was it Assassin's Creed Unity or something like that? It's Unity, infamous, like, really, kind of almost cobbled together in a sense, and then rushed out the door by the publishers. Where do people kind of find that happy medium? Is it when they're still up and coming? They might be working with smaller projects, or is it when they've actually made it and they've gotten to that kind of a height?
That's the magic question, really. And it's something I've learned a lot about since I started in this sort of content creation space. From my perspective, I came up as a kid with really what I considered to be no shot at getting into the industry. So a lot of other people have much different stories. They get out of college in the right city at the right time, and they might go straight to EA. So you have people jumping in all the way across this spectrum, and what I've learned is, from talking to a lot of people, there's kind of an interesting phenomenon where the people on one side always want to see what life is like on the other side. The indies want to be pros, and the pros wish they could go indie. And it becomes about what you're willing to sacrifice. Do you want to give up control, or do you want to give up, job security or financial security? What can you live without? What are you willing to do? So it's in a way that sort of unites everyone who works in game development, and it's the source of so many interesting conversations on Twitter and Reddit, and people who, I made a game with my friend, and like, okay, cool, I work at Gearbox, let's talk about audio design. It's kind of magical to see it, But what's so weird about that is, on the far end, on the pro side, you see things that are locked down and strictly controlled by publishers, and they put people on these wild rides where, sorry, we announced a date of June 1st and make it happen. I don't care what happens. If you want a job on June 2nd, you make it happen.
Yeah.
And that has led to these nightmare scenarios where even the successes have cost people their livelihoods, relationships, their sense of well-being. It's a terrible thing to see. And with a business that's started to earn that much money at that, and done business at that scale, I don't know how you put the brakes on that.
That's interesting. I think EA is kind of the prime example for taking over companies and talent that come along with them, rushing something out, it fails, and then they just close the studio.
Yeah,
they stand apart. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I don't get it. I mean, because I don't really, I'm more on the front end, I suppose, more than on the back end. But we do try and engage with small developers. We've had a couple of interviews with some guys that have made smaller games. My old housemate, funnily enough, he was a developer working at Frontier, and then went on to Cloud Imperium, working on
Nice.
Star Citizen. He's moved off to a new company, so we're going to ask him to sort of join us next week, so we can kind of have a chat over his kind of experience. But I think you've kind of opened up my eyes, having watched some of the interviews that you've done on YouTube with, sitting down with some of the people. Even some of these are quite big players. There's like senior VFX artists and things like that.
Sure.
They're people that have got a real control, in how these projects work and getting them on and showing a more human side of it. And honestly, Callum, I think we're in the wrong business here, mate. I think we should stop talking about games and start talking about how to make games. Not that either of us have got any experience. I was going
to say the aforementioned bugs in Cyberpunk is already better than any game that me and Dan could make.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If I could make a game that was just the bugs from Cyberpunk, I'd be happy with that.
That's the thing. It's easy to finish any project and go, I am a genius, look what I've done. and you unleash it on the world and you find out something different. And I completely understand, because it's easy to, like, you're hunched over and you're working month after month after month, you're out of money. You just want it out the door. It's publish this today and get it out the door, and maybe it's ready, maybe it's not. And I understand both sides of it, but God, I wish we could get along a little better in the process.
Yeah.
I really don't get. I mean, we've covered this on previous podcasts before, like some of the the hate and the death threats and things like that. It's I just don't. It's beyond comprehension as to how people are that entitled that they think that they deserve this product. They haven't done anything towards it or paid anything towards it unless they pre-ordered it, I guess. But it's way too late down the line, like development line, before that becomes a factor. But they expect absolute perfection.
I think there's a mixture of both, though. Like, on one hand, it's the worst kind of people, like, threatening. I mean, like, again, CD Projekt Red, the death threats and stuff that they received from the initial release. But on the other hand, these are people that are, like, extremely passionate about something that... If somebody got that passionate about something I was making, like, I wouldn't be happy with the death threats, like, don't get me wrong there.
Sure,
but
yeah.
Just the fact to know that there's a huge mass of people that are so passionate about this one thing that I'm making that they're prepared to just go beyond what's considered appropriate, really, more for lack of a better term. Don't condone it in the slightest, but...
Right. It's an interesting thing where we've sort of all acknowledged that, especially if you're an indie, you need to spend a good amount of your time, maybe 30-40% of your time, marketing what you're doing, building a community, running that Discord, getting people subscribed to that newsletter, running a forum. You want people engaged with your content at all times. And if you've done a great job, you get people deeply, deeply passionate about your work. But that comes with a downside. There are going to be people who don't have a healthy relationship with what you're doing or just what they're doing with gaming. And they're going to be present in that community, and it might not go well. So, I mean, obviously, I don't consider developers complicit in any sort of death threats they receive or any sort of abuse or toxicity, anything like that, clearly. But it is a thing that we try to hook people in and get them as engaged as possible, so we have to run a community and then deal with the fallout, and it's not really fair. But it's it's another one of those things. What do we really do about it? Over time, do we handle community engagement in a different way? Those are really tough questions that all we can do is continue to talk to developers, talk to studios, understand what happens out there. That's the best we can do right now, is sort of try to learn from it.
Is that something that you've come across personally? Like for any projects that you've been involved in the feedback that you're getting back from the community themselves?
It's interesting. As a content creator, yes, I've had a small amount of that. I'm in a position where, nobody's going to go to my boss because I don't have a boss, or nobody's going to try to do a, fire this guy campaign. I've done one indie game of my own, but it was for kids, so the kids haven't been too mean. Although kids are kind of mean sometimes.
Kids are horrible. Don't stick up for them.
But, they can't swat me or anything like that. So, but as a content creator, I'm on YouTube. You can see what goes on in the comments section. I tell people, as half of a joke, I say, I work on the internet. You can't hurt my feelings. But I mean, it's not really true when people say that, of course. I learned that phrase from a Marine who said, "I'm a Marine, you can't hurt my feelings." And I thought, that is the most badass thing I've ever heard. And I'm going to start telling people stuff like that.
It's easy
but
to back
it doesn't, it's not true. We all get hurt by comments and the personal work we do that gets torn up. So yeah, I've had a small degree of it. I expect some of it over the book at some point. You try to find the constructive feedback where it exists, and you try to move on. It's the best you can do.
Yeah.
Well, I did see the kids. Was it Kid Game Jam?
Game Jam.
I did. I ran a game jam for kids games at one time after I made my own. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something that you've? Have you got kids? Is that something you've got them involved in as well?
I have a son who is now 6, and he'll be 7 in half a year. When he was only 1 or 2, I made an indie game that taught him letters and numbers. That was the whole thing. I wanted to create something for him to play with on my phone, just beep, boop, boop, and play around. And it turned out to be a sort of a powerful teaching tool, so I fleshed it out over the course of like half a year and released it in the app stores for other kids. It didn't make a killing. It wasn't a hugely successful project, but it was something I was proud of and very happy with. And I got to go speak about it at a few grade schools and things like that. So it was a really nice experience. Right. And I thought, there just isn't enough of this. We have a big community full of game developers, people who are learning, people who want to join new teams and stuff. So I said, why don't we have a short event? It actually wasn't short for a game jam. It was over 2 weeks because I didn't want people to crunch over it. But I invited them to make something small and simple for the benefit of younger kids. And it was pretty open-ended. And I loved that. I haven't done it annually, although I would like to kind of pick that back up. That was a pretty fun experience.
Yeah, because there's, I think with, there's quite a lot of charity work that goes on for like streamers and, playing huge amounts of a certain game, Desert Bus or whatever, for hours on end to just to raise money. But I think that, introducing coding and how to actually develop and make games, and introducing that to kids. Because I think for me, I suppose, I'm an old man now, and looking at how to make a game, it's incomprehensible to me. I wouldn't even know where to begin. But I think that starting, or at least opening it up to kids to say, you start with the simple things. If you take an interest in it, then obviously that's when you would look to further education would be to look at development, programming. And then because it's like with my old housemate, he his old job, they were hiring staff, but it was for me it was I because again I don't really know the ins and outs of how to use any of this kind of software.
Sure.
So I always figured that getting into the industry itself would be impossible for someone like me, unless I wanted to be a tester or something like that. And frankly, I've got no interest in.
You're already doing that for free, so
kind of.
It's a tough life, yeah.
Yeah, but also bug reports and playing the same room at the same level for 6 weeks straight. I can't imagine that being particularly fun. But it was. So obviously they're looking for programmers and script writers and things like that, and people with experience and an education that kind of backs it up. But there's other avenues into that. There was like customer service and social media. Yeah. So I think that if you wanted to get into the gaming industry as a whole, I don't think it's just a case of you need to be able to make an entire landscape on Unity or develop 1,000 tools through Unreal. As long as you can, like you say, as long as it's something you're passionate about, you've got some kind of. Oh, hello, we've got a visitor in the room.
There he is.
Hello.
There he goes.
Hey, bud.
Say hi.
Hi,
Hey.
Hey.
my name's William.
How's it
Hey,
going,
William.
man?
Can you get on your PE call?
Yeah,
Okay, thanks, buddy. He's late to class.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to jump in just because it popped into my head. With a lot of, obviously, Dan's talking about like the ins and outs of creating games and how much effort it takes to create games, which is too much for Dan to even comprehend. But
Yeah, sure.
What does somebody who can create games, what do you think of stuff like Dreams on the PlayStation and stuff, which is kind of advertising itself as a game creation tool, but obviously to the point that you can just do it with a controller?
I'm sorry, your video dropped out for like 5 seconds there. So if you can like sort of reiterate the question, I can better speak.
Sorry. So,
or I can guess.
Yeah. So sorry, I think I just kind of lagged out a bit there. But with what does, as somebody in the industry as yourself, what do you think of stuff like Dreams on the PlayStation, where it's the whole main purpose of that was you can create your own games, you can create whatever you want, and in all fairness, it's quite a comprehensive little tool set for I think it's like £25, so it's like $20 or whatever.
Right.
But what do you think of stuff like that?
I love how far we've come in getting people involved in stuff like this, from the content inside games to the games themselves. I agree. There was a time when we were, I'm guessing we're not far apart in age, but when we were trying to learn this stuff, it took a book this big, and my hands are very far apart for listeners, that you could learn one version of one software application. It would take you months to get through the book, and there'd be a new book for a new version, and the stuff in the old book doesn't work anymore. It was hard to learn stuff like code, but also stuff like design, because they're talking about older games. It was a difficult time to jump in and really make yourself capable. I went to a tech school that did languages that were far out of date already, and there weren't any sort of content creation games like that. It wasn't like, we never thought if you give the tools to a kid or a teenager or even an adult, we didn't really expect great results to come back. And the truth is, there are a lot of people with talent and interest who can do great things with the right tools. The exception of that is like Doom mods and stuff like that. We saw very early on with like early PC games, people are capable of great things if they have what they need to do it. So what I tell people now, full-grown adults, if you don't know coding and you would like to, look at the stuff they've got out for kids right now. And don't be ashamed to pick up a book called Game Programming for Teens or for Kids. They make it easy, they make it compelling, and it's a better time than ever before to get into this stuff. I love every version of this, from Minecraft to Roblox, Dreams. The list goes on. I love every bit of it, and I hope they keep going that direction.
Yeah.
What are you... is there anything that you're currently playing and enjoying at the moment, whenever you've got a free moment to do so?
What am I playing lately? I tried Outriders the other night. It's always interesting to me because being in the role that I am in, I'm a little bit disconnected from like what's really going to hit with audiences and stuff. So when I heard everybody going, Outriders, yeah, I thought, okay, I got to see what this is and why this struck people this way. It's a cool game, seems very interesting and very fun. I was surprised at how dark it is, especially at the beginning, for people to have such a like bright, happy, like, yay, this is the best game. I thought, like, I wasn't ready for this. This is intense. but in a way, I'm glad to see people, finding stories that resonate with them and stuff. So I think that's cool. When I can, I've got friends, I'll just play Call of Duty and do some brainless, first-person shooter stuff. I play games on my phone all the time, so I'm out to try a little bit of everything. I'm a Game Pass subscriber. I want to see all I can see. Yeah, it's a great deal, right?
We're big
amazing.
Advocates of Game Pass, we've got to say.
It's wonderful.
Well, I got I tried something called Pathway the other day, which is it's kind of like a turn-based adventure, like top-down, like isometric pixel. It seems like it's the most indie game, like all the elements sort of squished into one.
Yeah.
And it's I played it for probably a couple of hours or so. Had a couple of playthroughs and got my ass kicked. But then I was like, maybe this isn't for me. I'll go back to XCOM or something like that, and just uninstalled it. Perfect.
Game Pass is just the best thing to happen to video games. Like all I wish is that with because there's obviously quite a lot of sort of indie games that do end up on there as well. Rain on Your Parade is something else that's just popped up on there as well, which is
just came
fun.
on, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I really quite like that. But it seems to have kind of like, there's obviously like the big Microsoft titles that are going to show up on there day one, which is brilliant, and obviously any of the third parties that now they bought as well.
Bethesda and that.
Bethesda and exactly, and hopefully this deal with EA kind of throws more things at us as well. But then there's still the smatterings of, kind of smaller, games that maybe people wouldn't have heard of. Like Genesis Noir was a game that came on there a couple of months or so ago. and that was it's kind of like it's kind of like a visual novel more than anything.
Yeah.
It's not really a game in that kind of sense, but it was so striking. And you know, for a few pounds, I'm not sure what the equivalent is. I think it's probably about $8 or $9 or something like that.
Yeah.
For the monthly thing, to have that kind of exposure to, you know, a whole myriad of games that you probably wouldn't have even heard of unless they were just there and then for you. It's just, for me, it's kind of the future. I mean, with the people that you've been talking to and, you know, the companies that they work for, do they see, you know, the kind of the Game Pass model of this, like, you know, streaming? It's what Stadia could have been if it was,
right,
you know,
if it was good,
done properly. Yeah. Like, is that, do they see that as being the future? That this kind of, like, you know, huge sharing network platform?
It's a good question because I speak with a lot of studios who are trying new things as they emerge. I mean, obviously, it's a lot of moving targets. We had the Epic Store coming out. Yeah. That was a big point of contention with Gearbox when I spoke with their guys, because it's another one of those things. Hey, I'm just a visual effects guy. I'm just an audio guy. Don't yell at me about the Epic Store, right? So one thing I've wanted to do for a long time is talk to somebody on the Game Pass service, which I haven't got to do yet. They're notoriously locked down about sort of the terms and the compensation and stuff for that. So if there are any good, like, tell-all articles about that kind of thing, I haven't seen it yet. I would love to write one. I would probably abuse that opportunity because I'm just too curious about how that works on the back end. But developers are definitely aware of it. Studios are aware of it. I tried to set up several interviews with different studios who do it in the past, and somehow they always seem to not be available. Like, they can't quite, like, we just got bought by Microsoft, or we just put something on Game Pass, but we can't talk to you right now. Like, oh, okay. You know, I think they understand it. The way we consume everything is much different now. I was so excited to write a book, but you know, a big deal now on the Kindle store is they've got stuff like Kindle Unlimited, which is like their Game Pass. So I had to go, what's the future? Well, we're probably going to have more subscriptions where you can read everything from like Simon & Schuster or A-Press or whatever. So I thought, let's be part of that front end on the cutting edge and let me get on this, you know, book streaming thing.
Yeah.
So I think they're looking at it like that. If the terms are agreeable, they go with it. The only downside is, like you said, it's great for us. I can have a bite-sized, like, one-night experience with a game and uninstall it, and I don't even care. If I never play it again, I can at least tell people, like, I tried it, it was fun, I'm not out $15 or $20 or whatever, but for the studios, I think they're going to have to change the way they do business just a little bit to account for all of that bite-sized play, because they're relying on players to have a long relationship with their games. I think this is going to change that a little bit in certain cases.
Yeah,
I think so. I think it depends on, you know, what percentage of the subscription fees that Microsoft are getting for Game Pass is actually going to each individual game and the amount of use that people are getting out of it. So,
right.
You know, if it is something that's just, you know, people try it for a couple of nights, then uninstall it, you know, they're not really, should they be getting as big of a piece of the pie as someone who's, I mean, Anthem, for example's sake, like, Anthem is something that should have been, like, it should have been, I own
huge.
It, so I mean, it should have been the best thing ever,
right?
And something, because it's just, it's so short term. It just seems to be, you know, it's this instant gratification. It looks cool, it feels fine. Anything else though, and it just kind of flops from there. And for something like Anthem showing up on Game Pass, I think that is a much better place for it. Like, I would have much rather have played Anthem for free and not been bothered about the fact that it's not supported from that point onwards than pay too much. I can't remember how much it was, but it certainly wasn't. It was
right.
for what it actually is at the moment. It was too much, unfortunately. But
I think it's another case of being promised too much and delivering too little.
Probably so, but I think that if you know, you want to kind of drag out these lifetimes for these games, then, you know, once they've got your money, there's no real obligation for them to actually follow through with it.
Yeah, but then
actually say, yeah, we are going to support you for the next 5-10 years to make sure that this thing is interesting. Whereas if it was something that was coming exclusively out on Game Pass, say, and the more content that you included, the more you got people to play that game, the more that you would get from Microsoft from their subscription base and from the funds that they were pulling in from that, which is significant. Surely that would drive more publishers, I suppose, rather than the developers to kind of actually have these long-term goals for games, rather than just something on paper that's just we're going to support this for the next 10 years, knowing full well they're really not going to do.
Then you got stuff like Warframe though, and Warframe's still free to play, and I think that there was a big update for that. I think it was last week, maybe the week before. They've had like the new, I think it's Tales of Talos Somos. I don't know, I haven't played it for years. It's a bad example, but that's a free-to-play game that's still being updated like most months, like every few months or something like that. And I fully expected Anthem to be that kind of regular, like developers getting in on the action and updating the stuff and stuff.
Destiny and
Destiny is another good example of it. And I wouldn't put the blame on the developers themselves rather than EA.
It's BioWare. I mean, if you're looking for a more tried and tested company, you'd be hard pressed to find them.
I still think Anthem Flying was still a better Iron Man game than the Avengers.
Look, video game tie-ins we're not discussing here because frankly we all know, and I think we're all very much in agreement that they're all shit.
X-Men Origins Wolverines was excellent. It was better than the movie.
I can't believe we've never had a good Iron Man game, right? I think about it all the time, like how it's so perfect, but we've just not done it. I don't get it.
They nailed it with Anthem. I don't know if anyone's heard of this game, Anthem, but it's just like being Iron Man.
Just think of it that way, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Avengers, like the Iron Man flying in the Avengers is
awful.
It's fine, but it's so restricted because you like your Iron Man flying through corridors in a building. It just doesn't feel right. Like you say, it should just be. It should be something the scale of Anthem, but it's it's a desert or something, and you're flying around and blowing stuff up. It seems like it's such a simple thing to. Like, I mean, I think it's what they attempted with the tie-in games, but I think it was like, wasn't it Sega or someone who made the?
I'm not sure if it was Sega. I think it also.
I don't recall.
I think they're also only played in like Happy Meals and stuff as well for the Iron Man movie game.
Yeah, like, it wasn't particularly good. But there's on the flip side though, as people may see from Todd's Twitter, Godzilla fan.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I'm a big monster fan. I got my Rampage shirt on.
I did notice. Yeah, that's cool.
I own the small Rampage cabinet out in our game room. I love just dorky stuff like that. I really like that stuff.
Well, have you seen Godzilla vs Kong?
I'm waiting for the right night. My wife works a lot, and I'm waiting for a night we can both watch and really let it blow our minds. Probably this week, I would guess, is when we'll see it.
I'm very happy that that's the answer, and that it's like you want to watch it, and your wife wants to watch it as well. Because when I watched the trailer, my wife turned and she went, "It's not very realistic, is it?" It's like, it's not meant to be realistic.
Yeah.
Compared to what exactly?
Exactly.
Big lizard, big monkey. I mean.
That's not how it would go.
No, she wasn't. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I do like Godzilla and I like King Kong and stuff, but like not as much as. Yeah. Obviously, you're very clearly a fan, and Dan's a massive monster movie fan, and I like them, but they're not. It's not like the top of my list of movies and stuff. But I really enjoyed Godzilla versus Kong. I really, really did. Thought it was a really good film, except the human bits.
I think this. Well, that's always going to be that's always going to be the case, though. But I think like the Japanese ones are just a lot more wacky, and they're a lot more open to kind of weird things going on, the submarines and time travel and God knows what else. Like I think as soon as like the Hollywood versions of this they start to get wackier and wackier, that's when I think it'll be like pinnacle of what this is. Because the first one's like it's what Elizabeth Olsen and what's his name, Aaron Taylor Clark or something.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston.
Sort of, running about for an hour and a half.
Right.
I don't care.
Or the Matthew Broderick one.
Matthew Broderick one jumps to mind. Yeah, funny.
We don't want to talk about that one either. frankly. But though, Todd, I think we've taken up more than enough of your time. So again, I wanted to thank you for being a part of Podcast versus Player today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. This has been everything I was hoping for. This has been great.
Well, where can people go and find you? Social medias, where can they go and find the book if they want to buy themselves a copy?
Sure. An easy place to go is my website, codewriteplay.com. That'll get you to the podcast, the book, the articles I write, and I'm on Twitter if you're around, Mechatodzilla with 1D and 2 L's, and I'll chat your ear off about just about anything. I'm there quite a bit.
Well, Todd, thank you again. Callum, have you got anything you want to add before we wrap this up?
No, just again, thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we can get you on again sometime.
I'd like that.
Thank you very much. So would we. Me more than Dan, though.
Yeah, for sure.
We're very competitive.
I can appreciate that. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.
See ya. And we're back. Hello, Callum.
Hi.
Thank you, Todd.
I'm still
yet
here.
Again for joining us on this
momentous occasion.
this shit podcast of ours. But we're very, very happy to have you back on again. So thank you very much. And to anyone who may have watched this on one of Todd's channels, his website.
It's going along the
we
bottom.
also have some other bits and pieces on podcastversusplayer.com. So you can always go and check us out there.
Yeah.
So hello and welcome to you.
And to you, Dan. You fucking rascal.
Thank you so much. So polite.
I mean, you know me, can't get enough of Dan. It's on my t-shirt. It's not.
Well,
Speaking of Dan,
it's part of mine.
humping.
Yep.
Nice. I've got some new t-shirts to put in the store, probably tomorrow.
Interesting. We haven't had a new t-shirt update on the podcast for a while.
We haven't, and the main reason for that is we're going to be doing a new video thing soon. So I thought I'd best get some stuff done.
New video thing?
I see you've forgotten completely what it is already.
Have we done a thing? What are we doing?
We haven't done it yet. But
Oh, no,
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I'm glad. Man, we're so simpatico. Like, same wavelength on everything.
Like, I'll just have to keep it written on the palm of my hand or something.
I think
just
you're
keep
gonna have
track
to.
of what the fuck we're up to.
But no, have you got anything else you wanna shout off, spout about, throw around, pull it off?
I don't think so. No. I'll tell you what's not shit though.
Invincible.
Comedy show.
Aunty Donna.
Ding! I'm going to plug them every week until we can get one of the Aunty Donna boys on.
No, yeah, I reckon it's doable. I reckon we can get them on.
I'd say we've probably got more chance of getting an Aunty Donna boy than Henry Cavill, which was last year's plan.
Yeah, I mean, I've still got the message I sent that's never been.
He hasn't read yet.
No, it's still not been read.
Okay.
I even looked into like finding out who his agent was to see if we could contact him through his agency.
His hosting fee is like 20 grand.
Yeah, it's going to be I didn't get that far. It wouldn't delve me the information, and B, there'd be an incredible cost to that.
Well, you could just remortgage your house, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, if it'll get him on the show, I'm happy to do it. If you're listening, Henry Cavill. You know what I actually rewatched the other day, really randomly? His Henry Cavill building his PC. It just popped up randomly, and I went, "Oh yeah," and then I just watched it.
Oh right, okay.
There was no ins and outs to it. Not as hilarious as Aunty Donna.
Boys, look us up.
I fucking love Aunty Donna. It's so good. Anyway.
That'll do, mate.
We have jizzed enough over the Aunty Donna boys, and if you come on, we'll jizz on you to your faces. But
we'll jizz on you to your faces.
You know it makes
There's
sense.
a song in there somewhere.
I think there is.
A colourful rap.
A little bit of jizz, mate.
I did a cum on your face.
That was hilarious. That live show clip.
That was good.
That was so funny.
I genuinely, I wish they'll come back to the UK.
I'm assuming they will at some
soon.
point. I'm assuming they will, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. Anyway, Sunshine, we're going to go because we've rambled on long enough. You can look down at the bottom right now. There's some stuff going on. www.podcastversusplay.com and a host of other interesting links, including a link to our. Well, there won't be a link to the wall, but head over there. Leave us a message on there. We've asked you every week, and you haven't done it. I
asked someone that I know specifically to do it, and I don't know if she did or not, but there's nothing on there.
Oh, then she didn't, if there's nothing on there.
No, I mean, I don't know if she did and it hasn't shown, or if she just could be asked.
No, there's nothing. I have updated the website. Terrible. I spent 3 days last week updating the website, so it's nice and fast. There's some new extra bits on there. And I put a little comment on the wall myself to just make sure that it's working, and it is. So
go check it out.
Have a look, please. Failing that, leave us if you got a question, put it in the comments here or something if you don't want to go to the website. But please do, because money.
Thank you, Callum, and thank you again to Todd for joining us today.
Very much, thanks.
Next podcast.
Yeah, next episode.
We probably will have another special guest as well, so make sure you stay tuned.
Shouldn't you save this for your episode? Really?
No, we've got to get the good stuff out, mate. We've got to promote all the good stuff.
I mean, I'm happy with it.
I'm going to carry that episode on my own. Don't worry about it. I don't need big celebrity guests.
I won't even be here.
I mean, to be fair, if I can get bloody one of the Aunty Donnas on for that one, dream come true.
Worth a go. Worth a go.
I might send him an email tonight and just be like, "Hi guys, love you. Do you want to be on a podcast?
Yeah.
By any chance? About nothing to do with comedy or sketch show comedy or anything that you probably have any interest in."
Anyway.
Yeah.
We're going to do one. So thanks for joining. Again, thank you for Todd for popping by. We very much enjoyed it. And we'll see you all on the next one. Goodbye.